And let's go ahead and introduce the players. Frodan, take it away.
All right, here in the top left we have Dimaga, Dmitry Flipchuk from Team MTW against the red Protoss in the bottom right, Tyler Wasilewski, Nony from Team Liquid. Nony is very storied in his Brood War career as the best foreigner, and now has a huge reputation to really uphold. And I think whether or not you can agree or disagree with, the way he's been playing, game number 2 was a very solid style that I think was really good, because Nony at one point didn't feel like he was taking a huge amount of risks. He was able to really adapt. He used the non-thermal lance Colossus push, and especially because he's using that knowledge of the fact that Dimaga goes for a lot of Zerglings, just like you were saying, Andre. I liked it a lot. At the same time, Dimaga's style is so cool to watch too. Ling Bane with the good upgrades is something, if executed well, looks so pretty, especially if you're dropping the army while dropping his mineral line. Those +2 Banelings one-shot workers. Lots of potential, and Dimaga has shown on this map that he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. Yeah. So.
Hey, I was just thinking, what if Dimaga does the same style, but you scout out and you know your opponent is going Colossus, and then you incorporate Queens with that attack to snipe out the Colossus?
As anti-air, since it doesn't have thermal lance.
Yeah.
Because the Queens
so
have
now they have
range.
7 range.
They have 7 range, so they
outrange the Colossus. How sick would that be?
Pretty dope.
Because think, they have to split up all over the place. The Colossus are going to be kiting around, and the Queens are going to be attacking the whole time.
That's true. And then you spread creep that way much easier to deal with it, so that way you're.
Well, he was on creep, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You spread creep more easily to empower him. And then you drop like 15 hatcheries around the map to have Queens come in for flanks.
We just broke StarCraft, man.
No,
we just broke it.
I was just trolling.
No, that is what you just said is absolutely true.
Queens coming from the flank with Zerg. Well, because the big thing is reinforcement points. More and Zergs have been realizing reinforcement points are really important because it's like setting up the flank.
Correct.
So you can even, if you manage your larva really well, as you can see right now, Nony getting a good scout of his opponent's base, sees everything, gas and hatchery and pool. But if you can manage your larva really well, only make drones from like your main, and then you force all your larvae to stock up at certain reinforcement points, you can set up a flank that way without having to worry too much about the preparation. And as a result, you're able to get really good. This is something that Stefano does perfectly all the time. As you can see, why does he always seem to get just the amount of macro up? Just because he's able to really control every single small thing. And hopefully we can see something like that. But, ooh. What do we see out of the Nony? We see a Stargate instead of a second gateway.
Interesting.
Huh.
Interesting. Now, it is already 3 Queens out here, but obviously this Stargate has a lot of potential. I would have loved this Stargate to actually be made over here in the 4th location, but I think Nony is just saying, okay, I'm going to play it a little bit more conservative, because that's definitely an area where you can easily get scouted with the Zerglings roaming the map. Dimaga has an Overlord stationed over here, just checking for the expansion. Now, it should get around the time where he's wondering, where the heck is this base? It should be up by now. We're already almost 6 minutes into it.
You might think that Nony's one basing.
Correct. That's exactly what he's reading at this point. It's exactly what he should read. So I would actually say Dimaga should go for...
Yeah, he's making spawns.
Look at that. But another queen as well. Make 4 queens, man. No problem.
4 queens.
Get some...
Seriously, you can hold, with slow lings, queens, and spines, you can hold off easily 1 base pushes.
Very easily.
Yeah, very easily. And you can see that Dimaga being very safe. First Void Ray out onto the field for Nony, a second one in production. Not going to follow it up with Phoenixes. I like that choice. I mean, Nony, if you're going to commit to aggression, again, committing to it. Finally placing the expansion down now. Dimaga did see it with his Overlords. Like, okay, a really delayed Nexus. So he does have units out. I still have to be careful.
And look, he thinks it's Dark Templars as well.
Is he placing a spore? Oh, yeah.
Put a
he
spore
has a
down.
Spore.
That will inevitably actually help him out so much against this Void Ray pressure.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't even need it. He's going to go up to like 5 queens.
Yeah.
Just spread creep all over the map and completely dominate his opponent, or try to dominate his opponent as soon as this is shown.
Man, that is a lot of damage from the queens, and you can see that immediately Nony is forced to be pressured off. Now, there's interesting things you can do with Void Rays. You can use it to kind of act like Hellions in a way, deny creep tumors.
Yep.
There's been some variants. You know, I remember Hero used to do that a lot, get an Observer with an Void Ray, similar to how people use Raven and Banshee and TVZ to try to deny creep tumors. But Nony's going to use his Void Rays to kind of peruse the map and really take control of it. What's interesting is to see what Nony follows up from here, because he doesn't have a lot of tech outside the Stargate. Doesn't have a Robo, doesn't necessarily have, you know, Twilight Council or anything, not even a Forge for upgrades. And Dimaga already has his double Evo chamber. So this is something that I'm just sitting back and ready to see what Nony's ready to show us.
Obviously, I mean, he has a lot of surprise attack potential in this. With the Phoenixes just gathering up over here, he is chrono boosting him out, so it shows you he is really invested into the surprise. And he needs to kill a ton of queens if he wants this to be effective. I would actually say he might even need to kill all of the queens if he wants this to be effective.
That would be it would be ideal. Yeah. No queens would be really good, especially because the main isn't protected as well as the natural with that Spore Caller. That Spore Caller zones off more than you think it does. As you can see, Nony has 2 Void Rays going to the main. You can see Dimaga immediately pulling a second queen also for inject, so pretty good timing from Dimaga in that regards. Nony immediately trying to kill off another drone, and while still chrono boosting out these Phoenixes, just like you were saying, at the same time, Dimaga has Zerglings in position, and he's getting these really good upgrades, getting a Spire, wow. So he really wants to get the Spires out to really deal with those air units. As a result, Nony immediately getting his robotics facility and his +1 weapon. So Nony's spending a lot of his gas on his tech. As you can see, he doesn't have much ground army right now back at home.
By the way, I did want to mention that that Zergling was able to see the Phoenixes run across, and now it's 3 queens. That's why the Spore Caller goes down, but they're all going to get picked up. Beautiful! Dimaga is going to lose these 3 queens. The 4th and 5th queen are going to get over here, but it's not going to be enough time, I don't think. Again, they get picked up. Another rallying Phoenix gets in here, but he's going to back up. Oh, keeps
very tight.
The Void Ray alive.
Yeah.
And look at that. He will be able to hold.
That's actually pretty good. He took out 2 queens.
Pretty impressive.
And now Dimaga can't even keep full injects going on, making 3 queens at a time, 17 drones. Oh man, Dimaga is so confident in his ability to hold off these queens. And you can see that spores are everywhere. As no matter what Dimaga or Nony does, Dimaga is really confident in just setting up his mid-game. Look at just picking up these drone counts and really harassing. Nony was known back in the early days of StarCraft 2 for utilizing Phoenixes very handily. Nonetheless, you can see that he's still powering up, getting a couple more gateways, getting his robotics bay. And again, Nony's still teching really hard back at home.
He's going for this push again. Yeah. This is going up to 6 gateways and, of course, Colossus. Now remember, those Phoenixes are so expensive. 150 minerals, 100 gas. You can look at that as a Zealot and a Sentry every time you look at one Phoenix. The count is up to 6. That's why Dimaga has made the call to only make drones from here. And now that, you know, that period is over, obviously all the income that Nony is getting right now should go to units. He's now decided to make additional Zerglings.
Yeah, Nony did probe up to a decent count to 50, and he did go for a mass tech as well. Now utilizing that Observer with the Void Rays, like we were pointing out, to really deny the creep, very key mid-game, especially if Nony wants to follow it with a Colossus push. Denying this creep tumor will be invaluable. Oh wow, look at him pulling Stalkers, see if he can pick off some of the queens. And very cute play here from Nony. Now, he has to control this very well. It's actually very difficult. You'd be surprised. Nony really wants to force the queens off the creep before he can re-engage. But immediately just backing off, knowing that his 3rd is the most valuable thing. He loses his army, he loses his 3rd. And for now, look at this. Nony has a pretty good number of tech out at this point, and I don't think Dimaga can kill him at all.
9 Corruptors are coming out in the field right now. 11, excuse me. So he looks to just contest all of air control. The big problem I have with Dimaga at this point is the fact that his opponent has just so much air control that the Colossus might be able to burst down all the Zerglings in time, so that obviously he has no army as soon as, you know, the Colossus actually get cleaned up. Dimaga really needs to focus on getting rid of those Colossus as the #1 priority with these Corruptors. He needs to do it in order to actually keep him, you know, alive in this.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be difficult, though, because the Phoenixes and Void Rays can really distract them from being able to do anything. Ooh, Corruptor's trying to see if he can catch the Void Rays. Now, Nony's been doing a good job keeping them alive. He might...
oh, no.
Oh, no. He turned around for just a second. I was going to say he might use his gateway arm to try to see if he can intercept and dissuade the rest of the units from really pursuing the Corruptors, trying to land the last hits, and they do. Now, Nony doesn't have Blink, and it's going to have a direct engagement. Dimaga intent on taking out the Colossus, but there are a lot of Protoss units here, and he's just going to snipe it and immediately run. Now, the Queens got really far off creep, and Nony would be very well encouraged to take the Queens out, ensuring that creep spread and injects will be limited. At this point, Nony does have a pretty sizable ground army, and a lot of his army is in supply because he doesn't have that many worker count. Nony's going to engage here directly. The Zerglings can't really do much as there is no surface area. And all of a sudden, Nony has a pretty decent position as long as he can keep his units alive.
Attacking right there is probably the best thing that Zergs can do, even though the supplies are an advantage for Nony, and yes, he's getting another Colossus out. That helps out so much because it burns so many force heals, and it makes it in a position where you can't do this, you know, you can't wall off and take just the most amazing position and then kill some drones. Right now, it just works that Nony has to be cost efficient with these attacks in order for him to get an advantage. Whereas if you're attacking your opponent, you can get an advantage in both killing drones and being cost efficient.
Well, it's just so cool because Nony's been able to keep his probe count so high, and Dimaga hasn't been able to drone as much. He's droning in huge waves, 17 drones, 12 drones. But Nony's the one that's been able to keep a steady production up. And, you know, I don't think that Nony's in a bad position whatsoever. From this point, we've seen him turtle in PvZ. And Dimaga, you know, he has been going for this Mad Zergling style, but hasn't really been able to put on that form of aggression we normally see, where he's dropping at different places and able to really shut down Protoss pushes. For now, Dimaga getting his Greater Spire, rushing really quickly to that tech. And, I mean, Dimaga doesn't have that great drone saturation. In fact, he doesn't have his 4th base yet. And this is pretty late for a 4th base in ZVP.
I'd agree so. And going for that hive tech is pretty hard as well. I mean, when you do this, you basically say, I'm not going to go infestors. And that's a really, really hard sacrifice to make, as infestor broodlords are, you know, that's the main staple of Zerg endgame. You need that. Look at the supplies. Nony is going to gear up for this push pretty soon here.
Yeah,
Units have shown 3 Colossus and 2 Archons. Wow, that is so scary to look at when you are going a Zergling style.
Yeah, Zerglings do just absolutely melt in the face of Colossi and Archons. Now, the one thing that's going to be a saving grace for Dimaga will be creep spread if he can get really good positioning, and as long as he can keep his Broodlords alive. Now, interesting thing is Dimaga has skimped out on infestors. Now, normally infestors really important on dealing with the Protoss ball, especially limiting how far Colossi can really move out, and the Stalkers have to rearrange accordingly. Dimaga has none of that. In fact, Dimaga doesn't have much at all. Oh my goodness, Dimaga cancels his 4th base because he thinks Protoss is going to push. This is looking really good for Nony at this point.
I think actually that should have stayed up just to give him a little bit more time. I think Nony would have gone to this 4th base first. And yeah, he goes up there. But no, he's just going to evacuate a little bit. I think that just forces Nony to just reposition a little bit. Maybe he actually does the same thing. But as you can see, Dimaga has a ton of Broodlords coming out here. Nony was not able to pull the trigger in time. And these Broodlords, let me tell you, they will be the main reason, if anything, for Nony, excuse me, for Dimaga to win this fight.
I don't know, though, because he doesn't have infestors, and Nony, just nothing stopping him from blinking underneath except for the Zerglings and Banelings. As long as he can do this correctly, you can see great micro control, really hugging the left side, immediately dealing with the Colossi are going to town. The Corruptors are trying to nail the rest. The Zerglings are trying to engage right now, but it might be a little bit too late. The Broodlords are also down for the count. Nony does lose a lot of his Colossus, and a lot of AoE with that drops. And you can see at the end, Nony does manage to have some units. The reinforcements, though, should be able to crush it in a fantastic hold, just like you were saying, Andre, as the Spinecrawler is doing a fantastic amount of DPS, killing off 3-4 Stalkers apiece. Nony now resets his supply, doesn't have that much army back at home. And you can see Dimaga, his upgrades 3-2 against 3-1, really starting to pay off dividends.
And you might think that was still really good for Nony because he can get this 4th base, and obviously it puts Dimaga only on 3 base, but the fact of the matter is the upgrade advantage goes to Dimaga with his 3-2 currently against the 3-0 that Nony has, or 3-1 rather. it might be small, but Zergling, Baneling, or in general, just Zerglings are a lot better after huge trades. That mobility helps out because you have the ability to obviously put pressure on your opponent. And look, there's no blink, there's no charge. Nony is in a really tough position. And oh my god, the Banelings! They're exploding all over those Zealots. And it looks like Colossus will go down as well. Nony just falling apart here, just too much pressure. And he's going to lose his fourth base.
I can't believe he doesn't have Blink. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Nony at this point, if he had Blink, I thought he had Blink for the fight against Broodlords.
No,
but he didn't have it. Yeah, I thought he had it the entire time. I was wondering why he wasn't. And that's why I was like, wow, he's going to stutter step as Marco. I haven't seen this against Broodlords before. But as a result, Nony loses his fourth base. Dimaga able to get up his fourth. Now, there's no secret that both players are starting to run dry on resources. As right now, Dimaga has full control of the map. Nony kind of has to reset everything yet again. Now trying to move to the left-hand side. But, wow, I mean, Nony is really not able to hold off against the onslaught of Zerglings. Look at a full surround. And with that, Nony's going to lose the rest of his army. Dimaga pushes in to see if he can take this third base. If he takes his third base, in the name of Zerg, it's going to be lights out for Nony as he will have almost no economy to rebuild anything whatsoever. And look at that, Pope's trying to escape, but Zerglings are absolutely wrecking whatever is left of the Protoss base. This is not looking good whatsoever. Nony down to just 44 supply, and Nony, I think, realizes at this point he can't do much. Warping is themselves and Archons back at home, but it's not going to do much against the huge onslaught of Zerg army.
That's so unfortunate. Nony, I mean, played such a great game. That one push, it looked almost unstoppable for Frodan. I thought for sure he was going to win there. I think if he attacked actually a couple minutes earlier, he would have won straight up. I mean, I don't think Broodlords would have been there in time. They would have been morphing, if anything, and the Stalkers could have obviously done something about it. But Broodlords are out again. He has no answer for this.
Yeah.
Lights out.
Dimaga's going to push in here with Broodlords, and with that, Dimaga doesn't really have anything to fear. Nony doesn't have any real form of anti-air to answer. His Archons can't even get there. GG. Dimaga takes game number 3 against Nony. After a very contested game, very scary moments for both players. But in the end, Dimaga moves up to 4-3 in his division, a much-needed win to potentially threaten a wildcard's guaranteed spot.
Very nice play. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with Nony, and especially with all the things that's going on with him currently. I know he's looking for a house out in California. And just things are you know,
I think he's not even fully moved in yet, and the fact that he's able to still play a pretty close series.
Yeah, that's really impressive. So Nony, I mean, there's no shame in losing to Dimaga. He really played well in that game number 3, and I think hats off goes to him. But Dimaga, he's the victor today, and he's the one that's getting the $150 and moving up in the ranks for the North American Star League group stages.